Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen. I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're talking about what the future could hold for John Cena, previewing SummerSlam and everything that's congulating for that pay-per-view, and finally unveiling the scandal that could ruin me in this Money in the Bank briefcase. It's been building for months now. What will the payoff be? You'll have to hang around until the end of the show to find out. Or, if you're impatient, click one of the handy timestamps in the video description below to be taken right to any of those discussions. Although I would like you to watch the whole show. We put a lot of time and effort into this. Now, you seem to be doing a 5-second pose for flash photography.
It was a bit longer than a 5-second pose, though, yeah. For the benefit of those with flash photography, yeah. Well, I'm a man of the people. I listen to the feedback. There are some who think that my hands gestures during it, which I don't do for my own entertainment. I don't really do it for your benefit either. I do it because I don't want to sit here in stony silence while you do all the talking.
Sure.
So, I'm fine with that. However, it appears though that most people think that I look like a knob and hate it. So I thought, I'll just stay still, because if I show them what it's like when I don't do anything, then they might appreciate it when I actually do something.
I like this. I like how we're addressing all the comments. You know, oh, why's Luke got his ears tucked into his hat?
Yeah.
And then we talked about it, and the comments stopped.
No one brings it up anymore.
Why is Luke not wearing a hat? We talked about it. And now we're addressing this. Although some people are like, the best thing about the Ramble is Luke doing those crazy movements at the start of the show. So what about those people?
Well, that's what I mean. Like I'm hoping that by showing what it's like when I don't move, those people will be like, it does look weird when he doesn't do anything. So, yeah, maybe we should just let this slide.
Or maybe there's a happy middle ground.
Maybe
where you don't have to do all your impressions of me when I'm talking, and you don't have to stand there all robotic and silent as well.
Look silent and stoic.
You should watch what other people... You should watch how WWE generic interviewers react after they've asked the question.
But you can't, because they pan to the person, don't they? They're interviewing.
Do.
Yeah, you don't then see the generic interview person.
It's because
what I really should do is I should watch Mean Gene. Just
Yes.
focus on Mean Gene and see what he's doing when he's interviewing people back in the 90s.
disgusted Mean Gene face.
Well, I don't believe what he just said right there. Coming up later, folks. That's my
Put
Mean
that
Gene.
cigarette out, son. You know, or the effing cigarette, I believe he said at the time.
Yeah.
I think when...
Everyone is to the backdrop falls. He just
Yeah.
goes, F it.
When the God, Mean Gene's good. Like that's someone who everyone can invest in. It's like referees recently. You know how WWE don't care about giving their referees names. And I used to get annoyed by that, because why not make everything good? Like, why are you trying to flatten out parts of your product that people could cheer for, or at least get invested in? You know, football fans, English football that is, know the names of the referees. And you're like, oh, he's a bad referee, he's a good... You know, you sort of build up these patterns. You can tell better stories or more intricate stories because of these extra elements that you build in. And then they said Mike Chioda's name after he took that bad ref
the
bump
commentators
this week.
didn't, but they just kept calling him the official or the referee. But Shane refers to him by name.
He can do whatever he wants, that boy.
I was going to say, because Vince is going to go like, God damn it, Shane! Don't say it. It's like, Dad, I just said his name. All right, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whereas, like, if Tom Phillips had done it, then we're near the end of it.
He'll be back to NXT.
JBL would give him so many atomic wedgies, flushing his head down the loo. Oh, it'd have been all... He would have been allowed in the locker room for weeks.
He'll be down to interviewing people backstage in NXT faster than you can say Rich Brennan. Who's that guy? I'm sorry, poor chap.
Poor Rich
Apparently
Brennan.
that was the... Did you ever hear of that? There was a bit of a power struggle between them. And when Rich Brennan brought in one of his guys... I think Rich Brennan said on a podcast interview that it was Tom Phillips who kind of, not squashed it, but was just like, you should try this guy instead, because this is one of my guys. Fascinating political thing. Oh, that's a nice bit of rambling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's because...
I actually had some more rambling.
We can carry on rambling.
To address another series of comments that was left in, not yesterday's, when did we last do a video? Wednesday. It was yesterday.
So it was yesterday.
Sorry, I do apologise.
Because we're recording this on Thursday. Patreon people can watch it on Friday, and everyone else can watch it on Saturday.
Yes, so it is currently Thursday today. So there are quite a few comments left talking about the Nakamura-Cena match, and you and I I think me more than you being a bit annoyed that it was given away for free on national TV and not saved for a pay-per-view. And also there was a lot of people, and I got a lot of this on Twitter as well, of people saying like, well, they had to do the match now. Cena's only a part-timer. You've got to get these matches in. All right, well, brilliant. Just have him face Randy Orton next week then. Have him face Brock Lesnar the week after. Just have him face everyone. Just make sure we get all these matches in because they may not happen ever again. I don't get that logic either. Like, whatever happened to building to a match? The whole point of a dream match is you're meant to be, like, it's a dream. It's meant to be, oh, I can't wait to see that. But I think what Twitter and YouTube fans want now is just, they want everything and they want it now. In fact, there was someone who left a comment when we did the fantasy booking that said they voted for you because mine culminated at WrestleMania. And they wanted the Shield reunion now.
They didn't want to hurt your feelings because mine was the better booking.
Did yours win?
No,
that's
criminally.
That's right.
In fact, that's the subject of having everything now. The subject of Arcade Fire's new album, Everything Now. I'm not doing a plug. I just really like the album.
Okay.
I think it's a fascinating exploration into the social media age told through music.
Very interesting. I don't think I've ever listened to an Arcade Fire album in my life.
Yeah. They're really good.
Okay.
I was going to make another point, but I've forgotten it. What are you distracted
So,
by?
Cheeky Baby fell a little bit.
So, yes. So today's episode is a Saturday one. Usually we would do predictions for a pay-per-view or a fantasy booking warfare thing. But there isn't a pay-per-view for a while. SummerSlam is the next one.
We've got 2 weeks before SummerSlam.
And the fantasy booking warfares, as fun as they are to do, they take a hell of a lot of time for us to come up with these things and trash talk each other. There's a whole psych out thing backstage that you guys don't get to see.
No.
But maybe I will throw your passport in the bin.
Yeah.
It's just some gentle ribs.
Sometimes,
some innocent ribs.
Sometimes I will chuck you off the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, rough me up a bit.
Exactly, the transports us round from studio to studio.
I wasn't allowed to use the indoor toilet for a while. I just had to use a spot under a lamppost down the street.
Yeah, I did a poo in one of your sandwiches. That's a famous X-Pac one.
Yeah. I didn't notice that one though.
No, that's the sandwich you
the
just
one
had.
I just ate.
The one you just ate. Yeah.
Nutty. Austin Powers. So we are filling. It's not a filler episode.
No, that makes it sound like it's a bad
just
thing.
a new kind of format we're testing out.
We just wanted to see what it would be like to discuss the week's news because, as we were saying just before we came in to record, that when you and I do the news, you more than I, it's very linear. It's very much like, here is the news. It's got to do it in 4 minutes, which means I've got like 45 seconds per news item. Whereas now we can actually sit down and discuss these news, extrapolate them a little bit more.
Well, the other thing is, I like the news to just be so it's pretty much just the facts. I don't give my opinion. I make snarky jokes and sarcastic jokes, but I don't actually give my opinion. I don't go into stuff like, well, I think this should happen. Very rarely I do. I think I did it when everyone was going crazy about the UK title. I was like, but they're gonna destroy us. WWE are gonna take over Britain. And not in a good way. So this gives us a forum to dive in and give our opinions on the news stories.
Which is very exciting.
Ooh, I actually said to you before we started recording, I was like, I'm looking forward to giving my opinions on these things.
Yeah, it'll be
for
nice.
A change.
It'll be for a change.
Although, what if people don't like my opinions?
And they just
this ruins everything.
Well, this is like when I do the news and people just go like, why is he doing the news? Ollie does the news.
Man, you shouldn't let the YouTube comments
but the point
get to you so much.
The point that I'm making is that, like, what if people just watch you to read the news as opposed to you give your opinions on the news?
Yeah.
They want very, very straight things. They want you to literally just read the news and shout, and they don't want you doing anything else. Given
the amount of homophobic comments, I think they do want straight things. They don't want anyone who sounds a little bit camp. I think we should now put a pin in mentioning nasty YouTube comments because the last 3 videos have begun with you going, so I've had a few bad comments,
well, no, I mean,
and now I'm not going to move anymore.
As I said, I'm a man of the people.
Man of the people.
I like to respond to the people. They give us feedback. That's what the YouTube comments are there for. That and to tell me to F off and make lewd jokes about Paige and Brad Maddox.
Well, we just don't talk about those ones. You're happy, free to do whatever you want, but we will address the constructive ones and the nice ones.
Yeah.
Particularly the ones that say how nice we are. I particularly like it when people come onto I think someone called Star Hunter does this a lot. They just come on and say, hey, there's a new video out. You know, oh, I can't wait for Dunkirk's release this weekend. You know, nothing related to the video. Just trying to have a chat.
Oh,
yeah,
bless
it's
him.
quite nice. So, podcasts are a thing. You heard about them?
Yeah, I believe every wrestler and their mother has a podcast these days.
And how many of those people are we beating in the iTunes charts as of Thursday morning? Probably changed.
We are beating all of them, but 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are currently being beaten by Edge and Christian, Bruce Pritchard, Jericho.
I think that's it.
And someone else.
Because we're above Stone Cold.
That's right. We're 4th. Yeah, and we're above Stone Cold.
So we don't know for sure how iTunes charts work. There is no way we've got more listeners than them. I think it's the amount of listeners or downloads you accumulate in a period of time.
A small fraction of time. It's a bit like Twitter trends.
Yeah.
Twitter trends are based around the amount of people tweeting those exact words within an hour period, and that creates your trending topics.
But they don't stay up there forever. They drop out pretty quickly.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen to us. It's because we're pretty new, so I think the charts are skewed towards newer podcasts who get a lot of initial listens, which makes sense because the algorithms would probably think, "Oh, people like these guys," right off the bat, not knowing anything about our unprofessionalism or the fact that this is primarily a video podcast rather than audio-only means.
Yes, although that will be changing soon.
Well, we'll try and fix that.
That's my responsibility.
So that was a long way of saying subscribe to the podcast as well. That helps us out. Keep us up. We're coming for you, Pritchard.
Yeah, we're coming for you,
Bruce Pritchard. Something to wrestle. That's the next one. I think there were 3 spaces above us.
He's not far off. We can definitely get Bruce and Conrad.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna talk about how good their SummerSlam 2000 episode is. It's really good.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I do like Bruce's podcast. He got a good shout out on Bring It to the Table on this week's episode.
Oh, did he?
They were talking about, the question was, are there too many wrestling podcasts? And Corey Graves was like, only listen to 2 podcasts. I listened to I think he said Jericho's and Something to Wrestle With.
Oh wow, I'm surprised they're allowed to talk about that.
Well, he's a
GFW guy.
Yeah, but he's best friends with JBL. He was a groomsman at JBL's wedding.
He brought that up in the SummerSlam 2000 one. Undertaker's, JBL's, and Shane McMahon's.
Yes.
Apparently Shane McMahon's one was crazy.
No,
Michael Hayes got drunk.
Triple H's one, it was crazy. It was Triple H and Stephanie's wedding that was crazy. Michael Hayes got drunk and wanted to sing a song for them.
About nearly urinating in Linda McMahon's hair.
Yeah, which he did on a plane flight.
Did he actually do it, or was he very nearly? I know his ponytail got snipped off.
Yeah, he nearly did. Yeah, that was on the plane ride from hell, wasn't it, where they cut his hair off?
Is this excuse me? Is this another plane ride from hell?
Yes, this was a different plane ride from hell.
Too.
It's just Michael Hayes. Here's a shocker for you. He likes a tipple. He just likes to get drunk. Oh, Michael Hayes, he likes to have a little drink.
So that's one thing I don't like about the Something to Wrestle.
Is the amount of impressions.
There's a lot of them.
It's because Conrad just sets him up to do them as well. And whenever Conrad does, I go like, oh God, we're gonna have to. I've got to put up with 30 seconds of this now.
Or, I mean, the amount of ads. I mean, we can't really talk because an ad is probably. I mean, we're 13 minutes in, so an ad probably just popped up.
We've already had one.
Yeah, we probably try and space them every 10 minutes to not annoy people too much. But yeah, there were a lot of. Yeah. I just don't like it when they come out of nowhere. When I think, oh, what are they talking about now? Wait a second, this is an ad.
Jericho does that as well. Yeah. Jericho tries to hide it within chatter. So he'll be like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Oh, I've been meaning to talk to you about this other thing, but first I've got to talk about this. And what I love about that is that the audio quality changes whenever he does it. So it'll be sounding like this, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's really interesting, but I've really got to ask you about this.
A for effort.
A for effort.
I mean, we're saying this now, but if anyone does want to sponsor us or give any of those plug opportunities, we are very cheap.
I will do them in one of my 3 impressions.
He's got 3. I've got Vince.
And some of them are pretty good.
Yeah. I've got Vince. I've got old man Undertaker, which is kind of X Factor voiceover guy.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel had a doji.
Rachel had a day job.
Had a day job. Okay, right. We're 15 minutes in. That's probably 20 adverts, and we haven't even spoken.
This is what happens when we record things at 20 to 6 in the evening.
Yeah, we went off the rails. So this is the news podcast, and now the news is going to get going. John Cena's WWE Raw plans. Now, I talked about this in a few news episodes this week, and it wasn't until I started to make the notes for this podcast, because John Cena appeared in a few news episodes for different stories, and then you know the scene in the film where the guys merging the bits on the wall and go, wait a second, these could all be connected.
Yeah.
And it was essentially a Fashion Files skit in my head. And I was like, wait a second. Monday, John Cena confirmed for the Bumblebee movie.
Certainly was.
This is the Transformers franchise. Luke's a big fan of it.
Of G1, yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah.
Is that an insider term for the animated?
No, well, just Generation 1 Transformers is where I'm at. I haven't really done. I did a bit of Beast Wars in my youth, but only
everyone did.
really like. But yeah, I'm more G1 Transformers.
Okay.
Like the OG. That's where I sit.
You're talking the animated stuff from the 80s.
So like basically seasons 1 through 4, and the movie. I'm not even really big on like the Headmaster stuff that they did, which is mostly in Japan, and the Takara series and things like that. So I'm mostly just like OG Western Transformers, seasons 1 through 4.
Well, you'll be happy that Bumblebee is an 80s, and it's going to be set in the 80s.
It is. This is according to producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura. It's going to be taking it.
Not the Lorenzo Di Bonaventura.
It is the Lorenzo Di
Former
Bonaventura.
hairdresser turned.
No, that's not Lorenzo Di Bonaventura.
Have I got this wrong?
Yes, you're thinking of
the guy who produced Superman Lives
and Batman. That was.
We're just going to talk about movies. When we haven't got a good enough structure, we will talk about.
John Peters.
John Peters, yeah.
Yeah. No, Lorenzo Di Bonaventura is more of a Paramount guy.
Okay.
But he has said in interviews that it's going to be set within the 1980s and it's going to be very much like based within G1 mythology. So, although it's a spin-off to the Transformers, the Michael Bay series of disasters, this is taking a bit of. It feels like it's taking a step away from it. And if it's based within G1, like, are they going to put Bumblebee in like the classic Bumblebee design, where he's like the classic VW Beetle?
Yeah, well, I suppose an updated, modern design wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Because it's in the 80s, that design hasn't been created yet. So John Cena has been confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter for a lead role in it. Not just like a bit-parting comedy cameo supporting role.
It's so weird as well because he looks just like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Well, there's the joke in John Cena is in a film called Trainwreck. He's in the cinema with Amy Schumer, and someone heckles him from behind.
This is so funny.
You're like a S word Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And John Cena turns around and says, I look like Mark Wahlberg ate Mark Wahlberg. So
he is outstanding in that film.
Yeah, he's great.
I was no fan of Trainwreck, but he was far and away. Him and LeBron James were far and away the best things in it.
Well, John Cena's definite strength in all of his acting roles I've seen him in, and I've seen him in his action roles too. 12 Rounds, the Marine. He's not as convincing as that. He does come off as wooden. When he's doing comedy, however, he's very unique because it takes a lot for a guy of that size to be so doofy and comedy-y, other adjectives.
It says how good John Cena is as a comedic actor when he can stand toe-to-toe with people from Saturday Night Live who've been doing this for years, like decades have been doing comedy, and he could just walk straight onto a set and just stand toe-to-toe with them. He's that good.
Yeah, so I hope for Bumblebee they do use his comedic skills in that, and he's not just like a straight-up action guy. He could be like Mark Wahlberg does something similar. He could be kind of what's the word? Exasperated. I was trying to do this. Everything so over his head. So yeah,
both he's got a lot of similarities with Mark Wahlberg. Not only does he look like him, they've both had rap albums.
Wow, yeah. Marky Mark. Rusev pointed out on Twitter, congratulating Cena on this news. Remember, he's an all-timer, not a part-timer.
Did you see Kevin Owens' tweets?
Yeah, after the botch.
after the suplex the Nakamura game on SmackDown, where Kevin Owens was like, I don't know why everyone's really upset. He was announced as an actual Transformer the other day. Great stuff.
Speaking of that SmackDown match, this is where the dots are starting to connect now. Now we've spoken about Transformers for 5 minutes. The Wrestling Observer newsletter report, and it was rumoured beforehand, and then Big Dave has spoken, Big Dave Meltzer.
Came down from his on high with his tablets of a newsletter.
You may hear, here is the tablet.
Which starts off with UFC, whatever, thumbs up.
Yeah.
91%.
And Meltzer said that the original plan for John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura was for Baron Corbin to run in. Of course, he's been feuding with Nakamura. Corbin would interfere and go for Nakamura, I assume when the referee is distracted or down, so the referee doesn't see it, but clobbers Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nakamura wins off the back of that. So that starts your Cena-Corbin feud, and Nakamura wins. They instead went for the much better route of Nakamura winning clean, and John Cena having a scuffle with Baron Corbin afterwards. Once SmackDown had gone off the air, this was just before 205 Live on the WWE Network. So where these dots join is how late, because you know a lot about movies, the production process.
Mm-hmm.
When would John Cena have known for sure that he's going to be in Transformers?
I'd have said some while ago because it started shooting
on Monday.
On Monday, yeah. So they'd have, if they've gone into production without a lead, I'd be very surprised.
Or lead, or maybe he's supporting lead.
Well, from the story I heard that he's the lead, right? So
it says it in a lead role.
Yeah. So he's clearly got some dates to finish up here, and he's working through to SummerSlam. So I'm really surprised that Paramount are letting him do the wrestling side of it, because if he gets injured, that's Bumblebee knackered. This happened with The Rock. The Rock was meant to be in, he was in that Hercules movie, the awful Hercules movie that he did. But then he did the WrestleMania match with Cena and got injured, and that delayed production of Hercules by quite a few months because he had to recover from his injury.
Which costs the studio a fortune.
A lot of money, and studios do not like to spend money erroneously. So I'm very surprised that he's clearly got a very good agent. And John Cena's a very, very careful worker. He's a very safe worker, apart from the Nakamura thing, obviously.
Do you think all of Hollywood just went...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Lorenzo Di Bonaventura was like, oh my God! But yeah, they don't watch wrestling. But so I'd imagine this has been in talks for some time, and then they finally penned the deal. But yeah, I would have thought they wouldn't have... I don't think they'd have gone in production without a lead star. That's very uncommon.
It's just that... So you've got this, it looks like Cena and Corbin, you would imagine are going to feud until SummerSlam.
But there's a stacked old card for SummerSlam.
Yeah,
there's a lot of...
13 matches, it seems.
Yes, I think there's 12 matches so far. It's going to be a 5.5-hour show, is what Meltzer said in the Observer today. But there's a lot... And there's
Does that include in the pre-show?
I think that includes the pre-show, yeah. Because it'll be a 4-hour main show. With I think it'll end up being 6 hours, because he'll probably have a 2-hour pre-show and then the rest of it afterwards. But yeah, there was matches. All of a sudden, he went through this long list of matches, this 12-match card, and then was talking about all these other feuds that are going on. And he was like, oh, and they could probably be on the card as well. And I was like, whoa.
Love that 20-match card.
Yeah, it's got WrestleMania all over again.
So, well, I don't know how my timeline exactly works out then. I want to know whether the John Cena getting cast as in the Bumblebee movie, not as Bumblebee, if that in any way played into the decision to, you know what, we're going to almost do a passing of the torch moment, or at least a huge elevation of Nakamura. We're going to let Nakamura beat you clean now. And we're going to not even have the Corbin thing on the main show. That's going to happen on the WWE Network. So maybe Cena doesn't have a match at SummerSlam, although he is on the poster, but he's the only guy on the poster without a match at the moment. Because it's him, Shinsuke, Jinder, the 4 Raw main event guys, and the 4 women title match competitors. So we've got those, but the other bit of news is that John Cena's first post-SummerSlam Raw house show date is on the 27th of August, so the week after SummerSlam, in Mississippi, against Samoa Joe.
Samoan Joe.
Samoa Joe. And
they're old rivals from their indie days.
Oh, did they come up in OVW?
No, it wasn't OVW. It was somewhere else. But like the first promotion that Joe worked for, Cena was in as well.
Yeah.
And they're very good friends. In fact, those who used to play EWR, the wrestling database management game, will know that they had a very strong friendship. So if you managed to hire both of those, then their morale went up.
Nice. And he's also on the advertisements on WWE.com for the Raw pay-per-view. No Mercy is a Raw pay-per-view this year on September 24th. So Cena's been on Raw house shows so far. He's a free agent. He's fought Bray Wyatt a few times in the recent weeks. But this is the first actual Raw event on television that he's been announced for, or at least advertised for. So the way I see this timeline going is Cena feuds with Cena feuds with Corbin until SummerSlam, at which point he moves over to Raw, and that's he goes on there for a while, where, leading into the next story, unless you've got anything else to add, I hope not, because this is a good transition.
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated said yesterday in an article from, I forget the guy's name, but he's the chap who broke the Talking Smack cancellation news. Not the original announcement, but that Vince McMahon cancelled it because he wasn't happy with the Kofi Kingston moment. Where New Day came back on Talking Smack before they came back on SmackDown, the actual show. So Vince was like, well, why? Quite rightly, like, we should have saved their return, their SmackDown live debut, for the actual TV.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that was, they referenced that in the story.
Okay.
So this Sports Illustrated chap has said that Brock Lesnar is a return to UFC is imminent. It's most likely he's dropping the title in the 4-way match at SummerSlam, and Paul Heyman, of all people, is pushing for Samoa Joe to win the belt.
Now, if this is obviously just pure speculation on my part.
This all is,
but that's what we're here for. I would imagine that if Lesnar is losing the title at SummerSlam because he's going back to UFC, because he's got to do loads of training to get back into UFC shape.
Yeah.
It makes sense that Heyman is pushing for Joe to win the title, because Joe is someone that he is very high on. So he would be pushing for Joe over a Roman Reigns or a Braun Strowman. Nothing against those two lads, but he really likes Joe. He's always liked Samoa Joe. In fact, I think when he was nearly going in for TNA, he wanted to like build the promotion around him, because he's your star. Like,
he wanted to get rid of all the old guys apart from Kurt and Sting, I believe. And build it around. Yeah,
build it around them. Really,
Joe, AJ Styles.
Yeah, build up.
Bobby Roode,
Desmond Wolfe at the time, but it was Nigel McGuinness. So they had like Nigel McGuinness. So was like, let's build him up as well, but let's build up, because the whole Desmond Wolfe thing, you brought it up the other day. Oh no, I brought it because I nearly put him in one of my videos with Men's League to Val Venus. Really upset about Nigel McGuinness because he came in so hot to TNA.
Yeah.
Feuded with Kurt Angle and had some amazing matches with Kurt Angle.
One of my favourite 3-match series of all time.
Yeah. And it was a great run. And then Hogan and Bischoff came in and were just like, we don't like him. And then just completely buried him down the card.
Back on track.
Yes,
Paul Heyman.
I just think it makes sense that he's pushing for Samoa Joe to win. I don't think this is saying that he's going to be a Paul Heyman guy. It's just that Heyman is a guy, he likes legitimate looking fighters.
Yeah.
And he looks at Samoa Joe and he's like, he's a legitimate looking fighter.
I think Lesnar and Heyman are really, they probably always like Samoa Joe, the way he carries himself. But then they got a chance to work with him at Great Balls of Fire, because leading up to SummerSlam, leading before Great Balls of Fire, ever since WrestleMania, the big report was Brock versus Roman Reigns for WrestleMania 34 next year, and Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar one-on-one at SummerSlam. Those are your two main events. And those two guys are in the SummerSlam 4-way. No one was ever talking about Samoa Joe getting added to SummerSlam until Great Balls of Fire happened. And you're like, well, he's obviously impressed people backstage. And Brock and Paul gave him a lot in that build. They obviously like him. Brock gets very motivated when he knows he can draw money with someone.
Yes.
When he can have an actual decent feud with them. And I think Joe proved that. And yeah, I mean, if Brock, this is all conjecture and us speculating, but I'm just trying to fit the Tetris pieces to eliminate this row. So you've got John Cena moving over to SummerSlam. And his first house show. House shows don't always dictate what happens on TV, but they often do. So let's just say Samoa Joe versus John Cena at the Raw house show. That's the feud that they go with on telly. We know the long-term direction. Well, we don't know, but the new WrestleMania 34 main event is John Cena versus Roman Reigns for the title. So Cena comes over to Raw. Joe wins the title from Brock. Joe and Cena feud for a while. Cena wins the belt, carries that through to WrestleMania for the Reigns match.
So his 17th World Championship run is with the Universal title.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want that to happen. Of course, I want Joe to win the belt. I think of all four guys there, no one wants to see Reigns win it. I think Braun, it isn't the time for him.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not the time for Braun to win the belt. I mean, you don't want to do the Ryback thing and like have him lose and then just start to go cold because he keeps losing.
You don't want to expose him.
Yes, but also I don't think it's right. It's not the right time to put the belt on him, especially like if Lesnar is sticking around till WrestleMania. You want Braun to be the only like dominant like monster on that brand. So once like Lesnar goes after WrestleMania next year, then's the time to be putting the belt onto Braun because then he can stand alone as the monster among men.
But then you've got Joe. I think Joe, he's in the position to gain the most from winning. And you know, like if Joe was champion, that's one of those feel-good fan moments where you're like, you know what, like let's go with this, please.
Yeah.
Like when Kevin Owens won the belt last year,
When AJ won it,
it was like, yes, AJ was very good. Owens' reign was diluted because of just terrible booking on Raw. But yeah, that's my SummerSlam feels.
I like it.
You like? Do you like it though? Apart from the Joe win.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I don't know where the SummerSlam main event is going because obviously there's all this kind of conjecture of and this what is
UFC
it?
stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do they say on something to wrestle with?
Rumour and innuendo?
That's it, yeah. There's a lot of rumour and innuendo that he's going to be going back to UFC. And I'll be honest, like that news has kind of put a bit of a damper on my excitement for the main event because like my interest with watching Brock matches is like who's going to be the guy that takes the belt off Brock. I don't want it to be, they took the belt off Brock because he's bugger enough to go back to UFC. I'd rather it be like, this guy's going to take the belt off Brock because this is the guy. Yeah. This is the guy to take the belt off of him.
This is the guy that WWE have decided to go with rather than having that hand forced.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. But more SummerSlam news. So this is a bit spoilery.
Yeah.
But we already know. So we know that. Well, we can talk about this without the result, I think. So this is from the Dirty Sheets, who have been scarily accurate for about 4 months now. Everything they've said has come.
Bill Bassey's got his contacts.
Yeah, it's come true.
There are people online that will poke fun at him because he's sort of come out of nowhere. And a lot of people are insinuating that he has no contacts, but he clearly does.
Yeah, he predicted the 4-way for SummerSlam. Jinder as champion. No one saw that. Like, that he won the number one contenders 6-way thing. And he said, yeah, Jinder's winning. And I was like, come on. The guy who just concussed Finn Balor on Raw and has been a jobber since coming back last August.
And was a jobber before then as well.
I think he might also have been the guy who first broke the Miz and Maurice, John Cena and Nikki Bella thing. And that was back when everyone was convinced, it's Cena versus Taker. Yeah. So there's that as well. Good track record is what we're saying.
Fun fact, actually, from today's Observer, is that Jinder is younger than Baron Corbin.
How old's Baron Corbin?
Baron Corbin is a year older than Jinder. I think he's 33.
Oh, okay.
And Jinder is 32.
Jinder was very young when he started. I know that because he said he was very inexperienced, very young. Yeah. And now he's...
Because everyone's like talking about maybe let's push Corbin because we're going to go with the younger guy. And it's like, well, actually, he's older than Jinder.
Yeah, it's weird. But it feels fresher though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think when people say younger, they just mean they haven't been on WWE as much.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe's a young guy. 39 probably. I don't know his age. So yes, this is Kurt Angle's first feud. The Miz and Jason Jordan are obviously building towards a match at SummerSlam. That's quite obvious now from Raw's Miz TV segment over the Intercontinental title match.
Do you know that's not one of the 12 matches that's on the card at the moment, though?
Oh, jeez, it's going to be 15 matches. And Dirty Sheets say that afterwards, Miz is going to start a tense relationship with Kurt Angle over forcing him to be in that match.
A bit like the feud he was having with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown that eventually led to nothing.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. I mean, actually, to be honest, when Miz went over, my first prediction was like he'll get into a feud with Kurt Angle. I think that was sort of almost obvious, but I think that's a good thing. I think that the Miz is a really great heel. I think Kurt's a very good babyface, and I think this could produce some really good stuff. I don't think it'll lead to a match though, and that's the downside of it. And also, I just feel.
Do you want to see a Kurt Miz match?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people were saying. Like, do you want Kurt Angle's first match back to be with the Miz? And to be honest, my reply would be, yeah, I would actually, because at least Miz is safe, and he can protect Kurt in the ring as opposed to putting him in with Brock Lesnar, who's just going to throw him on his head, or
King of soft style.
Yeah, exactly, the King of soft style. You don't want to put him in with Nakamura and have him do the suplex that he did to Cena on SmackDown.
You don't want to have a great match.
Oh no! I mean, absolutely not. No, you want to have a 3-star classic.
Wrestling is. I was just about to say, yeah, you want to be safe, but I was like, we're talking about wrestling. It's unsafe by its very nature.
Yes,
there are, of course, safer ways in which you can work.
Exactly. Watch a Randy Orton ladder match. You've never seen a safer ladder match in your life than Randy Orton. Randy Orton will never take anything dangerous and that's why he's never injured. That's why he's been doing this for like 20-odd years now, with very few periods of time off. Same with the Miz.
Yeah, never injured, which is a good thing. That sounded like he's never injured. I didn't mean it like that. It just came out with a bad inflection.
Aggressively.
Tell me about these network cuts, Luke.
Do you want to make this our last story?
What else have we got?
Because we're at 35 minutes now. So let's make this our last story. So
then. That's getting revealed. The Money in the Bank lunchbox.
So, you may have noticed, if you've been watching Raw, SmackDown, or a pay-per-view, or an AJ Styles entrance, that there's been no pyro on TV for quite some time. I can't remember the last time there was pyro.
What is pyro?
Pyro is fireworks. Ballyhoo, as Vince Russo would call it. Pyro and ballyhoo. That's what he used to write in all his scripts. At the top of each show. I
think that's the name of his YouTube thing or podcast.
It's what it spun off from, yes. Because in the start of his show, it would be like, open, Pyro and Ballyhoo. Because that's where everyone's like, oh, this is the start of the show.
Ballyhoo.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great word.
Yeah, it's quite good.
And there's been no pyro for quite some time. And there's been the news this week of all these cancelled network shows. Things like Talking Smack, that was cancelled last week.
Several weeks ago. Sorry. If I don't correct that,
yeah,
it'll happen in the comments.
Absolutely, yeah. Eggs and Crispin announced on their podcast that their comedy show is not coming back for a second season, despite the fact that they were actually prepping to start filming it very, very soon. And lastly, it's been announced that R-Truth's game show, they filmed a pilot. It's now not happening. It's not getting a season. Are you doing what I do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Sorry, man.
No, it's fine. I'm not insulted, right?
Is that okay?
It's flattering.
But you were doing good. You were doing good reporting there.
Thanks, man.
So those network shows are cancelled. No more pyro.
No more pyro.
What is this?
And according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio, I was struggling over that when I was doing the news today. Couldn't say Wrestling Observer Radio.
There you go.
I did. Well, it's not as bad as the ones on Sunday's video. Compartmentalization.
Oh,
that's a difficult word to say when you're reading off an auto cue. Anywho, Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that Ride Along might also be cancelled. That might be on the chopping block. So, why is all of this happening? Why have we got no Pirates? Why have we got this? Why has there been no updates for the UK Championship? And it's because it boils down to the network. So the network subscribers at WrestleMania time, when we're giving away 3 months free trials and things like that, was at 1.6 million. Sounds like a pretty good number.
Yeah.
Although bearing in mind that when WWE launched the network 4 years ago, something like that, they said that we would have 2 million subscribers by the end of the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way short. And I think they were like looking at 3 million subscribers overall.
Yes, that was their aim, because they did a this was idiotic as well. Like they looked at like a survey form or something that basically said like, here's the amount of fans WWE have, and they were like, brilliant, well they're all going to buy the network.
Yeah.
Forgetting that a lot of people tend not to pay for things when you give them stuff for free. Patreon's a great example of that. And network subscribers 1.6 million around WrestleMania season. That is now dropped to 1.5 million. And in that period of time, they have gained nearly 600,000 new subscribers.
That sounds good.
That's good.
It's over 500,000.
That is. But they've lost 604,000. Basically, it's 598,000 was the new subscribers, but they lost 604. So there's a net loss there of 6,000 subscribers.
Good maths.
But there is also that worry of just like, man, that's 600,000 people that just decided to cancel their network subscription. And there also, you had this big influx of people coming in through the free trials who didn't stick around after WrestleMania. But what they're looking at, and this is actually the same with most wrestling outlets, the Wrestling Observer say this all the time, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, your numbers increase. But as soon as WrestleMania season hits, it starts to dip down, SummerSlam, and then past SummerSlam, it's way down, ready to go back up again come Royal Rumble. And that's probably what the network's going to be as well. They'll just have that dip post SummerSlam into Survivor Series and Backlash and Hell in a Cell and all that sort of gubbins.
I think this sort of thinking might be behind WWE's renewed focus on the Big Four, because this trend of general interest in wrestling actually is reflected in our channel numbers as well. It sort of, you get to Royal Rumble, it climbs, and then there's a slight dip off, and then it starts to climb to SummerSlam again, dip off, Survivor Series. So it is based around those. You get the big pay-per-view payoffs. WWE usually don't follow it up very well, but then they build quite well to the next of their Big Four.
Yes.
Usually with a part-timer or a Shane McMahon match. And
so that's where all this network palaver is stemming from, and the reason why the thing. So they're going through all these cost-cutting measures. So according to Meltzer, he said on Wrestling Observer Radio that Vince promised. Now he said everyone in his quotes.
Yeah.
What we were talking about this earlier. I think from that he was inferring shareholders.
Yeah, it must have been.
Because I don't think he was like promising, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins that we're going to have all this great money. He promised everyone, shareholders, that they were going to have a bigger profit than they did in 2016. Now, the profit of 2016 was 30 million. That's pretty good going.
Yeah.
Halfway through this year, it's about 5 or 6. So that's a lot to catch up on. That's 25 million to catch up, and then you want to get more than that if you want to deliver on your promise of more.
25 million in 5 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Over halfway through the year.
So that's a lot. So that's why we're getting all these cutbacks, and the UK Championship is really suffering from that because Shiki's proper gone now. The whole plan with the UK Championship is that we're going to start doing a weekly TV show, which I didn't think was going to be that great anyway because they had such a small talent pool really signed to the UK stuff. But they wanted to do this weekly show, but they haven't done any tapings since the ones they did before TakeOver Chicago. And Pete Dunne he's defended his championship once, and that was at an IWC show. It wasn't even a WWE event.
ICW.
What did I say?
IWC.
I was the Internet Wrestling Community.
Yeah. Insane Championship Wrestling in Scotland.
And his second defence will be against Jack Gallagher at a Progress show, which is being held over SummerSlam weekend in Brooklyn.
It's weird that.
Yeah, it's weird that.
I don't want to be that guy, but I watched every Progress chapter from chapter 2 all the way through to about chapter 19, whenever Will Ospreay won the title. So that was a really cool, and it was always pretty hot and buzzy. They marketed it so well. And now it's like over. They're on all of a sudden they're on chapter 54 or something. They're doing it over in New York. I see pictures of Jim Smallman and John Bridley, who are the sort of owners, the 2 of the 3 owners, walking around with Triple H ahead of those UK tapings. What's happened here? This is awesome, but it's also you're being merged into the.
I also wonder as well because there was all of these stories. There was lots of rumor and innuendo, as Conrad would say, that we were going to start seeing Progress shows on the network, and we were going to start seeing some IWC, ICW shows on the network as well. But nothing's ever come from that either. But it shows that with Pete Dunne wrestling on those shows, and Noam Dar was at the last. It was like a surprise appearance thing, and it got a huge reaction because he's from Scotland.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of working relationship shows that there is still something there, but I wonder then if that's a money thing of a cost-saving measure that they're not going ahead with these deals just yet.
Yeah, it's very strange. I would like. Obviously, I don't want WWE to do badly. I want them to be around, but Vince McMahon tends to kick into action when his back is against the wall financially. Money speaks, after all. So, I wish they would look at everything and go, maybe we need to do some cost cutting, obviously. No one needs, and no one's going to buy the WWE Network to watch the R-Truth game show. As brilliant as I'm sure that would have been. But maybe they look at everything else and go, we need to make stars and build our business around stars and promote the network around those stars fighting each other in matches that nobody has seen before. Oh, we need to do that with good booking.
Yes.
And they take this feedback of rather than just numbers on a board as actually, it might be indicative of lower interest across the board. I mean, to have a net loss of 6,000 people since WrestleMania, gaining 600, losing over 600,000 subscribers. That's, I guess, maybe a third of what they had.
Yep. It's a third of your subscribers tuning out, or just actively deciding that I'm done with this, I don't need this anymore.
It's bewildering that you don't see that and think we need to change something up in our presentation or how we book wrestling.
There was a really interesting point brought up by Meltzer when talking about Wrestling Observer Radio, that part of the heightened production costs that they've had that they didn't have last year is they're now doing more pay-per-views, because they're doing, more often than not, 2 pay-per-views a month. You do a SmackDown one and you do a Raw one. Now, the reason they're doing 2 is because, like, in the first brand splits, it was still 1 pay-per-view a month, but they would alternate. So there would essentially be 8 weeks' worth of booking between each shows. And what they found was that the interest really dwindled. As soon as the pay-per-view happened, interest really dwindled, and then was kind of picked back up again as the new pay-per-view comes around. So what they don't want to do is repeat that. They don't want to have 8 weeks' worth of build between shows. Do you want to hear my hot take of how I would...
Pitch it, brother.
So Meltzer was saying that they don't want to get rid of the second pay-per-view per month. I feel, and I felt this from the very get-go, that you should always just do dual brand pay-per-views. Now, the argument to that is you're not going to get everyone on the show. But I think that there's actually a way that you can build this really nicely. You can build matches up for pay-per-views, and you can build matches up for TV specials.
Yeah.
TNA did this a few years ago when TNA used to do pay-per-views every month, like back when they had money, and then when all that money stopped coming in because Dixie Carter's dad said no, and they stopped having money, and they had to just work within their means. They only did pay-per-views like once every 3 months. And within those 3-month periods, they were still building to the next show, but they were also building to a big TV event where we're going to have a championship match on this show, and then you have like 4 weeks worth of build to that TV show. So you can still do that. If you don't have a United States Championship match on the pay-per-view, you could say, but it's going to be in 2 weeks' time on SmackDown Live, and build 4 weeks of stuff to get into that.
Some SmackDown episodes recently have felt like pay-per-view shows.
Yeah.
You do, and just do that, but yeah, build it up more.
And that means you're only doing 1 pay-per-view a month. It's dual brand, which means that you get all your big stars onto those shows, and you don't have like just fluff filler. You wouldn't have had to do the Baron Corbin Nakamura feud, really. You could have got around things like that.
But you do have to kind of stretch out television. It's not the perfect solution, but it is, I think, a better one than what they've got going.
Yeah.
But on that's all we've got time for the news.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, it's...
Oh, right, of course, yeah. I was just... Do you know what? Because I've got so comfortable with winning, I just completely forgot that I was about to reveal the biggest secret of all time, and I was ready to start putting my head on your shoulder so you could do the outro.
It's time...
I think I should open it, really.
...to see what's in the thing that could ruin me.
I feel like we should almost get like the gold shine of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. It's exactly what I've always wanted.
Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Ollie Davis, and I saw something this morning that's shaken me to the very core. I kind of need to share it with you all just to make myself feel better about it, you know? A picture of Braun Strowman dressed as Wonder Woman on his Instagram account from 2 years ago. Yeah, the brilliantly built, jobber-crushing Survivor Series team starring monster is dressed up as Wonder Woman right there.
I love you. Hashtag Weird Giants.
I have to admit, that's actually really sweet, but oh God. Oh no, God, no, I'm getting flashbacks.
No pink shorts, Braun! I thought I buried these images in the darkest recesses of my mind! He's meant to be a monster! No, it's coming! Not Wonder Braun! No! He's back!
So this is the first time I've ever done anything like this before, so I was thinking we get some action shots and bits like that. Yeah, a bit nervous. Hi. I've never really done anything like this before, but I've been single for quite a while now, so I thought I'd give online dating a go. Nothing was working out, so someone suggested to me at a convention that I try this thing, and when they said it, I realized I think that's what was missing, actually. I am Ollie Davis, and this is my Cosplay Connections dating video. So I guess people talk about what they do. I really like wrestling. I'm trying to get something into wrestling. I think YouTube might be a good way to do that. In my spare time, I read a lot of comics, and it's kind of wrestling and comics that has created the elephant in the room. This is Wonder Ollie. I feel at home when I am Wonder Ollie. Because I'm not the most confident of people. What Wonder Ollie does is it gives me a way to feel better and more important, and like I can do anything, and like I'm just an independent, fierce woman-man thing. All the best qualities of a lady with the body hair of a man. So what sort of person I'm looking for? I've spoken a lot about myself. Most people, because of the aforementioned loneliness, but if I was to choose my ideal person, I would go for tall. The taller the better. Something way taller than me. I like to look up, to kiss. Strong. I want them to be athletically fit. The first example that comes to my head about how strong, just as an example, possibly the ability to tip over an ambulance. But really, the most important thing I want from someone is for them to be 100% confident. That's who, Ollie Davis, that's who I was. I wasn't confident, and I was nervous all the time and lonely, very, very lonely. But now with Wonder Ollie, I'm pretty damn sure this is me from now on. I'm not going to bury this. I'm not going to tuck it away. And I want you, whoever you are, my future partner, hopefully for life, to be the same. To know what you want to be inside and trust in that. And don't care what anybody else thinks. This is me forever now. And I won't regret this. So if any of that sounds like you, or even if it doesn't even remotely sound like you, and you're into some weird stuff, just give me a call in the details below.